Hello.
Good morning. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Where'd you get your energy from?
It's a good question. The poodles, harnessed one from the poodles
Is
this
that right?
morning.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So yes, good morning. Good morning. And
where did you not get your energy from?
Well,
did you
yeah, if you I don't know where to start. So yesterday we were very fortunate to be invited to run a host. That's correct. Yeah, the reintroduction and rewilding summit for birds of Poole Harbour. It was quite a long day.
Yeah, we did 6 hours of live streaming.
Yeah, I'm zoomed out. If you want to know, I'm zoomed out. I was on Zoom all week.
Yeah, well, that's what we do.
I zoomed in, but now I want to zoom out.
You need to zoom out.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what, you can zoom out pretty well looking at Wildlife Kate's Tawny camera, can't you? That's a nice way to zoom out.
You can. Look at that.
Oh, so cute.
So good, isn't it?
I mean, honestly, every time I look at this camera and she's sleeping in there, I just want to be in there.
I know.
It just looks so cozy. It's where you want to be on a Sunday morning. It's got Sunday morning vibes, isn't it?
Well, not mine, because I'm not asleep in a nice cozy box.
Right. No, but
I've been awake since quite an early time because
But it's where you want to be in your Sunday
fidgety
morning,
poodles.
You know?
Look at that though. Kate's cameras such good quality, aren't they?
Yeah, they're fantastic, isn't it? We've been getting a lot of great action from this camera. Actually.
Yeah, you've got a Wildlife Kate. We don't need to tell you where to find her cameras, of course, but they really are delivering. Now, look, obviously, nocturnal animal shown in the, well, not quite the middle of the day, but the middle of the morning. So not too much activity there, but there has been some great stuff. Have a look at this little clip. This is one that Kate posted yesterday, and this is of the chick in the nest, right, getting a bit ambitious with a wood mouse. Look. It's great, isn't it? We've seen it before. We'll see it again, but it's always good. Come on,
get it down, yeah.
Honestly, a dry mouse.
Oh, could you imagine getting that down?
Look at the eyes. Look. Oh, go on. Yes, it's going.
Slowly. And I love how kind of mum's just there, like, come on now.
Yeah. Sometimes they do have to bring them back up again. I've seen that with barn owls. They just can't do it, and they do have to cough them back up.
Bit of help
look.
there.
Oh, yes, it's just the feet now.
And the tail. If that wouldn't give you heartburn, I don't know what would.
Oh, it's in. It's in. Oh dear, that's great, isn't it?
It is. It's quite something. What an amazing sight to see. We've been getting loads of great clips like this. This chick has grown so quick, isn't it?
The last little bit of tail sticking out there.
It's grown so quickly. I remember when that chick was just an egg.
Oh, so good. Well, that's woken me up a little bit and made me a bit more cheerful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I'm going to zoom in for the next hour, and then after that, I'm zooming right out. I'm zooming so far out.
What are you going to do when you zoom down?
I don't know. I'm not going near a Zoom call for I don't know, for as long as I possibly can.
for like 12 hours.
12 hours or something. Okay. Anyway. Look at this. We're indoors. And one of the reasons we're indoors is because I wanted to show off my Self-Isolating Bird Club t-shirt, because it's way too cold to be wearing it outside in a visible fashion. But there it is. And of course, you can get those t-shirts at sibird.club/shirt. So t-shirt. Yeah. There'll be a link in the comments. Yeah. And designed by Lucy Lapwing, who's got a little film for us today about telling the difference between wood pigeon and collared dove call. Yeah, she is queen of birdsong, Lucy Lapwing. So she's got an excellent film for us. We're also, of course, going to be joined by our very good friend, the wonderful Lindsey Chapman, is back to discuss all the things that you've been posting. So we're very excited about that. Yep. And we've got a film from the Septic. You're zoomed out as well. The Celtic. Oh dear, the Celtic Reptile and Amphibian. Yeah, I've got their website up here actually. Yeah, so we've got a great film from them coming up as well, which we're very excited about, and some fabulous artwork for you too, because whilst we love seeing your photos and your videos of the natural world, we also really like to encourage other mediums and other ways of exploring it. So whether that's your good things, people playing the piano, had a bit of music, haven't we? But art, poetry, all that kind of stuff. We've never had any dance. Oh no, we have. Of course we have. How dare I mention it? Of course, we had Amir Khan. Oh yes, yeah. I'm not sure. I could, bring around the dance interpretation. Anyway, how would you interpret that Tawny Owl clip through dance? That's a question. I won't do it for you, but if anybody wants to interpret the tawny owl eating that wood mouse, through the power of dance, I would particularly love to see it. And if you do it, we'll show it next week.
Yeah, okay.
I promise it'll be on next week.
Goodness me, if people could probably get arrested if they did that.
Please try.
And posted that online.
It would be brilliant. It would make my day.
Seriously. Okay, look, what about a quiz? So been out about in the woods this week, of course, always sticking my nose into things. And I found not one, but two of these. So we've got a photograph here. We'd like you to identify this. You might come across them yourself out in the woods at this time of year.
If you do, give it a poke.
There is one. And I can tell you that it's on an oak tree, close up there, out in the woods. And and Kate, our Kate has been out. Yeah, this is one that Kate found as well. So she's been out this week. So see if you can tell us what you think those are out and about in the woods at the moment. There we are. Okay.
Well, lots of people are saying hello. Lots of people tuned in. Thank you very much for spending your Sunday mornings with us again, as ever. We've got Anne in Farnham. We've got Trevor in Cornwall, Helen in London, Duncan in Wiltshire, Yvette in Norwich. We've got Michelle in Birmingham, Lisa in the Peak District, Paula in Manchester, Wildlife Rufus in Bristol, Janet in Rossington. We've got Ian in sunny Chester. Oh, I like a bit of sunshine. And David in Glasgow. So thank you very much for tuning in. It's good.
Okay. Right. Should we go over to Lynn's?
I think we should.
Okay. Good morning, Linz. Are you alive and well? Or are you zoomed in or zoomed out?
I'm zooming right in. I'm up for this morning. Oh, yeah. I'm ready for this morning. And I have to tell you that I originally trained as an actor. So when it comes to modern dance language, I'm your gal.
Really?
Lindsay, see your clip.
So what are you going to use for the wood mouse? Are you going to get like a big pillow?
A baguette.
And with a piece of rope tied on it to represent the tail? What are you going to do?
Chris Meggs, I have to allow myself time to get into the moment and really think how I would like to express those different things. Yeah. So I won't give that away today, but obviously my creative mind is a ticking. So what a wonderful clip that was.
A week then, but this time next week we're going to be watching you interpret yourself swallowing a wood mouse.
you think I joke, Lindsay, but I'm taking serious.
You can't fail now.
I will be messaging you. Lindsay, have you done that yet?
Your modern dance interpretation is about to probably go viral next week. I can't wait to see it.
It's going to be huge. I've got my unitard ready to go in white fluff. So yeah, keep your eye on that one.
Unitard. It's getting
unitard.
What?
Unitard.
What's a unitard?
Oh, it's like a full thing. It's not just so much that, it's not like it's cut off at the bottoms. It's the full on.
You're wobbling the table.
I'm getting excited.
Yeah, stop wobbling the table.
Sorry.
Right, listen. A white fluffy unitard. Honestly. I'm so pleased I've woken up and zoomed in.
I knew you would be. Anyway, that's what I will be bringing it to next week's show. With that. A few comments this morning. Obviously, you said lots of people saying hi, which is lovely. Elaine, and in fact, many, many people saying fantastic speakers at the Rewilding Summit yesterday. Superb job. No wonder you're a little bit tired and zoomed out this morning. That's fair enough. And Sue C says SIBC, and then off to rewild the garden. So everybody doing their bit. I think that does make a difference. I know we sort of talk about the little and the large. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Very much. I mean, we covered a lot yesterday, actually. Yeah. We had some fantastic speakers and guests and also a great range of VTs, didn't we?
Yeah, it was fantastic. We had everything from the big, talking about rewilding Europe to rewilding Scotland to, the Beaver Trust. But we also spoke about what people can do in their own gardens, because we've got a lot of power in our gardens. If you combine all the area that we have collectively in our gardens, in our own outdoor spaces, it's larger than all nature reserves combined. So we have a lot of power there to do a lot of good. We've just got to not be so neat about it and let things grow and put things in, put a pond in, put some more flowers in, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've got an area that used to be an old rubbish tip near me, and that grows over every year, and the wildlife there is absolutely sensational. So brilliant stuff yesterday. Also, a few people on before we were this morning waiting. Richard said, Fabian's still fast asleep after a big day yesterday. Kate says, actually, he's looking for a wildlife cam. That's our producer, Kate. And Rebecca Warren says, he can have my one in my nest box. So good stuff, Rebecca, for having a camera. And I'm going to ask you both about that. I've had a few questions. The first one, though, is something a little bit different. It's from Discovering Nature on Twitter. And they say, saw this little squirrel today, but it looked really dark. Have a look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, is that a red squirrel just with dark colourings then?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's red squirrel. You can see it's got its ear tufts, hasn't it?
Yeah, and in the light as well, you can see it's got a slight red tinge there, but it's probably just a genetic mutation. It's not quite melanistic. So normally, if an organism is totally black, it's something called melanistic. It's what you think. Think of a panther, for example. There is no such thing as a panther. There is just melanistic jaguar, melanistic leopard. So they're just jet black because they don't have that kind of pigmentation. Now, this individual, I don't think is totally melanistic, because you do have that red tinge to it, and it did have that white front, but it is just a slightly different genetic morph where it's darker.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When I was living in France, we had red squirrels around us, and they were dark like that. So, unlike our beautiful sort of rich tan, russet squirrels that we see, red squirrels here on the Isle of Wight, Brownsea Island, close to us, of course, or north of England, Scotland, Anglesey, various places they're hanging on. Down in France where I was, whenever I saw them, they always struck me as being black like that. So
really?
I never saw a sort of a really russet one. They were always darker.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, you're right. Of course, it's a variant. Nice to see, actually. Look like a very healthy little squirrel.
Very cute.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Looked really healthy and great to see something a little bit different. Right, let's talk about bird boxes and bird cameras then. So Peter Rainbow's been in touch again on Twitter and says, why are a pair of blue ticks going in and out of my bird nesting box? It's been 2 weeks now. They're not building a nest. They go in there 7 or 8 times a day. Here's a clip. Pecking and tweeting, is this courting? Now, we see this every spring, don't we?
We do. I mean, they're just checking out the box to make sure that they've got somewhere to nest when they're going to nest in a month or so. So if you're going to, maintain a territory and, you found a place where there's enough food, we know that holes in trees are a limited resource. That's why putting up nest boxes works so well, because there simply aren't enough big old trees with holes in that are secure for things like, blue tits and great tits to get, or redstarts and other hole nesting species to get into. So they work in that sense, but the birds are just checking them out. They're just checking to make sure that that's the type of nest box they want to move into. Looks okay to me. It's got drainage holes at the bottom. It's got a little bit of a gap at the back for a bit more drainage. By the time they fill that up with moss, hopefully they'll be raising a family come May.
Yeah, absolutely. And lots of people asking those sort of questions at the moment. If it's not behaviour you've seen before, we're beginning to get lots of clips of people's bird boxes having the cameras in there. So that is exactly what is going on. And a question on the back of that, Bernie Bosniak says, he's on the self-isolating Facebook page. How can I attract birds into my little bird house? I think it's designed for blue tits. I've hung it on the fence, out of the sun, next to some shrubs. Now, direction and where you put that box can make a real difference, and people are desperate to get birds nesting in their boxes, aren't they? Every year they want them, but sometimes the birds just don't go for it. Is there anything that you can do to encourage them?
Just move it around a little bit. See which place in your garden works best. If it's not getting much interest, keep moving it. You've got to remember that, of course, if it's kind of quite close to a fence, sometimes that can work. But often, if there's cats nearby, then they might not want to nest there, because, of course, cats patrol up along the fence. But you do want it to be, it is a shelter in itself. So it's not like a bird feeder in that it needs to be directly near shrub or hedge, because then they need to go back and forth for protection. But obviously, good and close is still, a good thing. But I just move it around a little bit, and see what happens with that.
Sometimes people say, I put up a bird box and I've had it there for 15 years, I've never had any birds in, and I sort of think, well, obviously it's not in the right place, so move it, see it, try it somewhere new. I mean, you're right, and it depends so much, Lindsay, on sort of, so everyone says, obviously have it so that the entrance is not facing the prevailing wind, typically from the southwest, of course, in the UK, but that really does depend on your garden or space where you're putting it up. So, and direct sunlight, avoid the direct sunlight.
It gets hot in there.
It'll get way too hot when they've got young. And then height above the ground, well, they don't like it too low. It doesn't need to be that high. Generally, I put mine up just out of reach. So just get a step ladder and go up 3 steps perhaps, and then put it up, just so that people, can't fiddle with it. And that seems to be high enough to get a good intake of birds. But yeah, I think Megs is right. The advice is, if, move it around. It's not a sacred thing. It's what you've done, in fact, is you've created, or you've purchased a cavity in a tree that's probably at least 80 years old. So that's what you've bought. You've bought a replica of that. And unlike an 80-year-old tree, which you can't move around because they've got roots and they're really, really heavy.
Have you tried? It's challenging.
It's just not happening. But you can move your bird box. So give it a go. So give that a go.
Give it a go. And thank you very much for that question, Bernie. We hope you get a bird in your bird box. Straight off the live chat then, question about migrating birds from Steve. Where is classed as their home territory? Is it where they come to breed or where they fly back to later? A little bit of a different question this morning.
Oh, yeah, that is a good question. I think that typically in the past, if you look at books, we used to call them books of British birds, and many species that breed in the UK would have been listed there as a British bird. But of course, they migrate to other parts of the world, Europe, sub-Saharan Africa, some of them Arctic terns, all the way down to Antarctica. So I think the idea of British birds has largely gone. I mean, there are species which, are sedentary and very rarely move, if you like. Robins might be an example of that, song thrushes as well, so only short distance movements. So, but I don't think, look, it's one planet. That's it. If no one owns these animals, they move freely. They don't see borders. We were saying this yesterday, weren't we? They don't see lines in the sand or flags or anything.
No, exactly. It's hard to classify something as a British bird because it travels. Its home is where its migration is.
Yeah. So
there you go.
Citizens of planet Earth.
Oh, that's nice. I like that a lot. And great to answer something live off the chat this morning. Let's go back to a clip then. This one's from Colin Johnson. And I know it's snowing in Yorkshire this morning. It's different right across the country today. From the Self-Isolating Bird Club Facebook page, who doesn't want to see a hedgehog in the snow? There you go. Obviously, hedgehogs coming out of hibernation. You can see the snowflakes there as well. But Enviro Education says, I have a very important question to do with hedgehogs. Well, the ticks found on hedgehogs. What is the purpose of a tick? What does it do in the grand scheme of things? Because they can't think of a simple or single use for what they call the wretched beasts, Chris. And I thought you'd like to come back on that because no doubt they do fit into the big picture.
Yeah, I like parasites very much, and parasites play a really important role in our ecology. Firstly, they are, you've just caused a quake. Can you stop fidgeting around? Honestly, the table's a bit wibbly and wobbly. Megs keeps getting so excited and wibbling and wobbling. So look, firstly, they can be vectors of disease, and diseases are there for a reason. I mean, I hate to say it, but most of these diseases are there to regulate the populations that they infect. And so they're not a nuisance diseases. They play a role in the ecology and regulating species populations. So you need to spread them around, and sometimes parasites are a means of doing that. Sometimes the parasite, what we call the parasite load, the number of parasites on an individual, can have a negative effect on it. And again, that therefore would be more negative in weaker individuals. So this is all about driving natural selection. So it's a survival of the fittest thing. Those that have immunity to diseases will survive. Those that can withstand high parasite loads will survive. And so they're playing that role. The other thing is, of course, that a lot of parasites are eaten by other things. So they may be sucking the blood of the hedgehog, but when they're not on the hedgehog, they're being eaten by other invertebrates, things like beetles and spiders and other invertebrate predators, and even things like birds. So when you think of the deer ticks, which are such a nuisance for us and our pets, dogs in particular, when they climb up and they sit right on the tops of their bits of grass, waiting to grab hold of anything that come, have they? Oh no, I don't believe it. That's just...
Oh, the poodles have farted.
Oh no.
Oh, that is horrific. That is just too much. Oh, it's
that is disgusting.
You know what? He the other day he ate like a rotting eel that he found in the garden on the riverbank, right? And then he was in the back of the car and he farted after eating the rotting eel. And seriously, I had to stop and open the doors. It was just the worst dog fart ever.
Sid is bad.
Sorry, I sort of spoiled the answer. Look, anyway, so they're eaten by other things. That parasites like ticks are very much part and parcel of the ecology. It takes everything to make the world go round, apart from food.
There you go. I knew there'd be a fantastic answer from you, and I'm greatly amused by both of your faces. There's clearly quite a stench at your end. Let's take a look then at a final couple of pictures. This one's from Jessica Watson. Any idea what this bird eggshell is from, please? It was found near Arlingham Close, Arlingham, close to the River Severn, and her 12-year-old birdwatcher son would like to know what it is. Nice ruler there.
Yeah, nice ruler. So we're looking at, it would have been about 5 centimetres long, wouldn't it, when it was uncrushed? Okay, this is the egg of a moorhen. The only other thing that it could be close to would have been missel thrush, because I know it sounds bizarre, but missel thrush and moorhens do have quite similarly marked eggs. They have that lovely creamy base, and they're spotted with reddish brown and lavender spots. But that's moorhen. If it was found near a river and it's too big for a missel thrush. So yeah, moorhen egg. Unfortunately, I can tell you that it hasn't hatched. So that egg has been predated. And I can show you an eggshell that I photographed the other day here, which did hatch. If I can just find it. Where is it? Gone too far. And you can tell if they hatch because typically they've been opened around the middle of the egg.
Directly round the centre. It's quite a... there we go.
So here we are. Look, here's a wood pigeon egg that has hatched. I don't know if you see that quite clearly there. And you see it sort of split in two. Well, that's because the young bird inside it has sort of spun round inside the eggshell using its egg tooth, a small little appendage on the tip of its beak, which falls off a couple of days after hatching, and it opens the egg. And on the same day, I photographed another eggshell, rather like that moorhen that we saw. Here is the egg of a song thrush, and that one has been munched, and judging by the damage, I put that down to grey squirrel predation. And again, context is important. There are lots of squirrels where I found that. So yeah, moorhen that's been had by a predator. And again, due to the nature of the damage, I would say it was probably a mammalian predator. So it could have been a brown rat, I suppose, or something like that, mink alongside the river.
It's incredible what you can tell from just one eggshell, isn't it? And very clear differences there with the egg tooth and clearly being predated. In terms of young bird watchers, Sandra has been on and she said, our son Joseph, 11, saw a sparrowhawk right outside the bedroom window yesterday, perched on the garage roof. He shouted, Mum, Dad, you've got to come and look at this. So loads of people out there enjoying their wildlife. Here is a fabulous picture from Bob Hurrell, and I love this on the Facebook page. In fact, there are two. He spotted a female and a male great spotted woodpecker. And I would like you to tell us the difference between those two if you are lucky enough to see both.
Yeah, so this one here is the female. You can tell because she does not have a red spot on the back of her neck. When you see the male, like this one here, you can see he's got that red patch right behind the head. So that's the most easy distinguishing factor that, you know, the moment you see a great spotted woodpecker, you can tell the difference between male and female. Always look for that red spot. If it's there, it's male. If it's not, it's female.
And they're both attending the nest, aren't they? So they're in there. So that's good again. They're starting. They've been drumming, of course, since Christmas, these great spots. It's good to see that they've started not again.
It keeps happening to you. I'm so amused by it. I really am. Many people spotting lots of different things. Marie Payne saw her first newt in her pond. Lovely stuff. Didn't have a camera. We'll take it next time. And lots of people talking about solitary bees as well. Now is the time to start looking for these smaller insects as things get going in spring. And Kayak Boy, I have a question. There seem to be more redpoll this year. Is that unusual, or are they becoming more common?
Redpoll are quite mobile. They tend to move around, particularly in the winter time. So they'll move to an area where there are more resources. They're one of those species, a bit like crossbills, which can go through what we call eruptions. And I noticed the same. Some years we see no redpolls whatsoever. And other years, there are plenty of redpolls. We still have redpoll in the garden on the feeders here. So they're quite mobile, I think. They'll breed in an area for a few years and then they'll move on, depending on, presumably, the resources there. And they like redpolls. They like birch trees. So, and they like, obviously, coniferous trees too. So yeah, it's tricky, but I think that's the pattern of their behaviour. They'll come and go, basically.
There you go. Well, thank you very much for answering all my questions, and thank you to you at home for sending in your videos and your comments and your pictures as well. It's really interesting, and I always say this, but it allows us to see wildlife right across the country that we don't necessarily have access to at the moment. So that is just brilliant. Lots of inquiries on the chat about my slippers. You may remember I have some leopard print slippers that I did not show you earlier in the year. I'm still not going to show you them, but I am going to finish with a bit of a view. Look at this. We're going roaming because I'm actually working in London at the moment. I'm working in doing a bit of broadcasting in a hotel, and I just want to show you my view because it's really gorgeous.
Oh, look at that. Oh. Let's have a look.
And I'm able to do a little bit of wildlife watching whilst I'm here, which is so nice to me, being in a studio all day. I've been watching a cormorant and 2 swans from that view, and it's quite near Heathrow, so you can probably hear an aeroplane as well.
Yeah, can hear the aircraft, yeah. Can't identify the species of aircraft from that sound, but yeah.
Well, anyway. I just wanted to show you that at the end because I'm doing a bit of wildlife watching whilst I'm at work. So wherever you are, whether you're in the centre of a city or right in the middle of the countryside, there's always things to see. But brilliant to see you this morning. I hope that the scent is lingering where you are and just put you off slightly.
It's potent, Lindsay. Potent. Comes in. It's hideous.
They've eaten something that they shouldn't have done, and it's passed through them after a degree of fermentation, I can tell you.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to leave you with that, but brilliant to see you this morning, and a hi to everyone at home as well.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lovely to see you.
See you, Lindsay. Bye-bye.
Bye. No problem. Bye.
See you next week in your, what was it?
Leopard print slippers.
Yeah, no, and also the tard thing.
Oh, the unitard.
Unitard, yeah, yes, the fluffy unitard.
Fluffy unitard, leopard print slippers, and interpretive dance. Oh, that's not something to tune in for on a Sunday morning. I don't know.
Next week's programme is going to be epic, absolutely epic with that involved. Anyway, look, I'm wearing my SIBC T-shirt here. We're indoors today. It's warm enough not to need 2 layers of fleece and puffer, and therefore you can see that was designed for us by one of our friends, Lucy Lapwing, and you can get those at sibird.club/t-shirt. Comes in a range of sizes and colours. Other people have got black ones actually. Looking pretty,
quite like black ones,
looking good in the black, aren't they? Yeah, this one's looking perfectly clean at the moment. It's been.
You haven't worn it yet?
Well, I have been wearing it around the house.
Have you?
No, yeah. It's obviously haven't been able to wear it out. There's been no need because it's been hidden under all sorts of other clothing. Anyway, look, here's Lucy now. Lucy is great at, telling, Lucy's great, full stop.
She is.
Yeah, but she's a fantastic educator and really imaginative in the way that she comes up with ideas.
Very creative.
Yeah, of how to get people to remember things. So here she is explaining how to tell the difference between a wood pigeon and a collared dove calling.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Birdsong Lessons with Lucy Lapwing. I think we're on week 9. No, we're on week 8 now. Week 8. Yes, 7, 8. We'll go with 8. So thank you so much for following along so far. Hopefully you've been finding it useful. Today's lesson is a little bit different because you're going to get 2 birds for the price of 1. Now both of these birds are really familiar garden visitors yet again. They are both well known for being quite greedy on the feeders. They will guzzle an entire tray of food. But yeah, they're characters of the garden. Loathe them or love them, they're here to stay, and they're very common birds. So they are, of course, the wood pigeon and the collared dove. Now, to tell the difference between the two visually, it's quite easy, even though they're both vaguely pigeony birds. So the wood pigeon is the larger of the two. It's hefty. It's like a dark slater grey. A little bit of a white collar around the neck, and they've got these kind of like really intense staring eyes with tiny little pupils. They don't look like they're quite all there. And yeah, they're like pot-bellied. I like to think of them as like pot-bellied strutters. They strut out onto the bird table and just scoff everything. Collared doves, on the other hand, are a little bit smaller. They're kind of more elegant vibed. So in colour, they're almost like a dusky fawny grey than that slate grey of the wood pigeon. And they have a black collar around the neck and just very tiny, kind little eyes. But both of them you'll see commonly in any kind of urban or suburban garden or park or area like that. Now, to tell them apart by song, it can sound difficult at first, but it's actually quite easy. Now, they've both got that kind of really stereotypical cooing thing going on. We're all really familiar with it. For me, the sound of collared doves and wood pigeons is like a hazy, lazy day in late summer. You know, when it's just like warm, you're chilling in the garden, you just hear them going on and on and on. It's that kind of vibe. So to tell the difference between the two songs, it's all about counting those syllables and listening to what they're saying. So first off, let's have a listen to the wood pigeon. Now, a wood pigeon I like to think of as being quite like cocky and determined, and he's wanting to reiterate that he's a pigeon, if that makes sense. So when he's saying his name, it has to emphasize that he is in fact a pigeon after he's said it. So it's all about counting those syllables. So if we just have a listen. I'm sure that sounds quite familiar to you. Now, I like to think of that noise that it's making, that do 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 do. He's saying the word wood pigeon, so he's saying his name, and then he's reiterating that he's a pigeon afterwards. So wood pigeon, pigeon, wood pigeon, pigeon. He really wants you to know he's a pigeon. The collared dove, if we listen to that, it's saying its name, but it's not that fussed about reiterating the dove part of it. So let's just have a listen to the beat of the collared dove. You can get quite a jam on. I just said jammed on, ironically. So if you listen to the collared dove, you can hear that it goes round and round, but there's not enough space to fit in that wood pigeon phrase that was before. So it goes collared dove, collared dove, collared dove, do 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 do, round and round. So all you've got to do when you hear one or the other is just test out the spacing of those syllables and see which phrase fits to it, and you can work out who the bird is behind the voice, if that makes sense. Now, wood pigeons are a little bit tricky, and sometimes they don't finish off what they're saying. So they'll say, wood pigeon, pigeon, wood pigeon, pigeon, wood pit, and then just stop, which is just birds being a pain in the bum again. So bear in mind there's a little bit of variation there. But yeah, hopefully that's been useful. It's kind of like the lamest party trick to pull it like a barbecue, if we ever get back to the point of being able to have like barbecues, to be like, well, actually, in fact, that's a collared dove. But yeah, if you're into that thing, you're here clearly, so you're into your bird song. But yeah, if you've got a different way of remembering collared dove, wood pigeon, if you've got a funny trick, just let me know. And if you've got any questions about this video, let me know. If you've got any questions about videos past or anything that I'm going to cover in the future, any future birds, please also let me know, because I find it really helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and join me again soon for another birdsong lesson. Bye!
Thank you very much, Lucy. And that's great. Is it all those animations that she does, and it explains things so clearly. I always get confused with my birdsong, so I always learn so much from Lucy.
It's good. It's very, very good indeed. So you follow Lucy. She's on Lucy Lapwing. Lucy Lapwing, yes. Of course. Lucy Lapwing. Okay, look, a couple of questions have come in here. Someone, Camilla Lee, or Lay, has said, am I too late to put up tawny owl boxes and a kestrel box? It's never too late, Camilla, to put up a box. It may be too late for it to be used this year. The tawnies are already down on eggs. I think it would be very unlikely that you get a tawny in a box unless it's failed, its first time failure, and then they might relay a later clutch. That can happen, of course. As for kestrels, well, they would probably, like those blue tits, be in and out of boxes by now, because they're going to be laying later this month. So you might be a bit late this year, but you can still put them up.
Do it up quickly, and then...
Yeah, well, you never know, do you? You never know. Rebecca Warren says, mine are nesting in the box, but one keeps taking stuff out. Is he or she thieving someone else's nest? Well, it could well be, because, if you've got a nest box full of nice fluffy moths and feathers, it's all in one place. You have to fly around the whole garden looking for it. You can just...
Why bother building your own?
Yeah, and birds do still material from each other's nests. Typically, you see it with seabirds, don't you? Gannets always arguing,
or penguins over pebbles.
Nicking pebbles, the penguins, gentoos, isn't it? So yes, they will steal that. There's a good chance. And then Emma Lou has said, it's nothing to do with nest boxes. Is the general lifespan of a bird mostly dependent on the size? In simple terms, yes. The bigger the bird, the longer it lives, but that's it's not a hard and fast rule, of course. And the longest lived of all birds are things like some of the parrot species and things like the albatross, aren't
albatross, they live a very long time. Kakapo lives a very long time in New Zealand. Anyway, thank you very much for sending all those questions in. Do keep them coming, and of course all the photos and videos as well. Now we've got some artwork. Now we said earlier that we love getting a bit creative. We like, the industry of art, music, interpretive dance, whatever you're into. Sophie Nash is really into making beautiful paintings. She's a 17-year-old artist, and we thought we'd share some of her photos that she's pictures that she's shared with us over Instagram and Twitter. So have a look at some of these.
Yeah, this is her badger one.
This is the badger one. So she's donating 10% of all proceeds of this painting to the Badger Trust. And badgers are her favourite animal. Look at that. I like that a lot. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, look.
Emperor penguin chick.
Penguin chick.
Yeah.
I love how she draws all them so fluffy and gets that texture. I'll never know. It's amazing.
It's great drawing, isn't it?
It's beautiful. That's amazing as well.
Turtle. Look at that. Sensational.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very well drawn indeed.
Oh, look.
Rabbit and monarch.
That's very cute.
Stop it.
What do you mean?
It's like, yes.
Come on.
No, that's not my favourite, that one.
No, but if you can't say the word cute for that.
My favourite, I think, probably the Emperor penguin chick. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the Emperor penguin. I quite like the turtle as well.
I think I saw her, she'd done a kingfisher the other day as well. I better not comment about that because
well, you don't like
I'm not so keen on kingfishers. But anyway, I don't dislike them, but they're just too colourful for me. I like the monochrome nature of that. Yeah, really, really skillfully drawn.
Great job, Sophie. Honestly, beautiful, beautiful drawings.
Fantastic stuff.
Really amazing skills. And you can see all of her images if you want. Go over to Sophie Nash Artwork and follow her because she's doing some amazing stuff.
She's on Twitter at Draw with Sophie, isn't it? Draw with Sophie on Instagram and Twitter. So check her stuff out. And if you get feel like buying someone a birthday present, birthday's coming up in a minute, actually, of course, then you can get her badger print and 10% goes to Badger Trust. Top work. Excellent stuff.
Right. We have a few clips for you now.
Yeah, a couple of clips. What about this one of a grass snake? Here,
check this out.
Already out and about, despite the chilly days recently, beneath the surface of the water, beautifully clear water, a hunting grass snake, and they will hunt underwater. So they'll be after newts, no doubt there. They can take amphibians and fish. And what's more, I can tell you that the grass snake is even capable of swallowing its prey underwater. They don't typically do it. They will bring it back to the surface to swallow it.
Makes things a bit easier, doesn't it?
But they have the capacity, if they want to swallow their prey beneath the surface of the water without drowning.
Yeah, I love a grass snake. I think they're so beautiful. And to see them when they're gliding in the water like that and when they're hunting, when they're at their kind of peak predation,
beautiful.
Mode. They're just stunning to watch. If you have grass snakes, make sure you send us clips and videos of that because we love them. We really love them.
Okay. And also Fabian's been peeping out the window and
he's always peeping out the window.
It's been snowing in Norwich where Fabian lives. And he got this clip of a sparrowhawk out in the garden. Sparrowhawk in the snow. Look at that. Aren't they great?
Oh, beautiful, aren't they?
Little male sparrowhawk. Oh, yes. Absolutely fantastic. Now that's a bird. That's a proper bird. Oh, they're delightful, aren't they? Look at that. I love the shape of their bodies and their wings.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Like a bullet.
Stunning stuff. Now, yesterday we were doing our reintroduction and rewilding summit. And unfortunately, one of the films that we wanted to show yesterday didn't arrive in time. And despite doing everything we could to get it on the air, we were unable to do so. So we thought, well, we ought to show it. It's been made by Harvey Tweaks, and he's of the Celtic Reptile and Amphibian company. Actually, it's a company. I've got the website up here. So it's Celtic Reptile and Amphibian.co.uk. You can find out all the details about what they're up to there. They're into basically captive breeding of European amphibians mainly for potential reintroduction into the UK, those species that have disappeared from our fauna here. Anyway, they'd made this little film. It was meant to go out yesterday, but now you can have a look at it.
think for me, captive breeding is a science of hope. As the rewilding movement is gaining pace, it's becoming increasingly apparent that captive breeding will be at the forefront of restoring any tangible nature. Recently, here at Celtic, we bred moor frogs for the first time, and amazingly, one of the males within the breeding group turned bright blue. This is potentially the first time that this phenomenon has happened in Britain for 700 years, and it gives hope to one day in the future when these blue frogs could return to our lakes again. And maybe as naive and romantic as that sounds, realistically, the only way this can happen is through concerted captive breeding efforts. Translocations work, however it's hard to make a reintroduction that is meaningful solely from translocations without damaging the source population. What do I mean by meaningful, you might ask? That's simply providing food. A blue moor frog is literally a flashing takeaway sign to a variety of predators like herons, egrets, storks, otters, and the list goes on. However, to get to this level of functionality, reintroductions would have to be at scale. So I'm going to take you to the facility where that magic will happen. So we're at the facility now, and this is going to be the UK's largest facility for European reptiles and amphibians, and that will achieve a few things. Most importantly, it would be the production level required to create functional self-sustaining populations within the UK of lost native species. And secondly, it would be basically a factory for education. We're going to be shooting online videos here which go onto YouTube, as well as having visitors to the sites like local school groups, etc. Because at the end of the day, it does beg the question that if we want to reintroduce things, we should have an equal measure as the biology, but also the education, so that the public understand what's going to be reintroduced. So as you can see, we've got very high ethical standards, and every single enclosure is built to basically zoo grade specifications for each species, allowing full expression of natural behaviour. And so, for instance, in this enclosure we've got European pond turtles, and these are a native species to Britain. They went extinct, give or take, about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, give or take a few days. And we're going to be breeding them. And we'd love one day to see them reintroduced. Why? Well, the reason is because I think we need to look past species which were here only a few decades ago, and we need to think more holistically. And as I said previously, it's about using climate change to our advantage. There are going to be so many horrendous losses. Why don't we capitalise and create some hope in restoring such a species? And on that note of hope, I'm going to go over to Pete, and I'm going to throw this tennis ball to him.
3 hours later.
Speeding. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
That's right. Okay. Cheers for that, Harvey. Now, I don't have the luxury of a great big facility like you guys do. I actually have a spare room. Now, in non-pandemic times, this would be where you'd invite guests to stay over, but because it's a pandemic, you simply can't do that anymore. But what I do have are some very special guests. Now, these don't necessarily pay rent. They get paid in snails, and they also do something very special coming out of their bums. So if we take a little look in here, look closely. Ooh. You might just see a glowworm. So these guys are larvae that I've actually hatched out from adults. So they're the baby stage, if you like. But they actually spend about 2 years of their life as a baby, as a larva, and then they spend the remaining week or a month as an adult, and that's the stage where you get this brilliant glow, this LED light. These guys don't really do that as much, but they do have a really faint glow that they give off if they feel slightly peeved off. Now, I briefly mentioned snails, and I do have quite a few of these behind me here. That's a little snail farm for you. Now, the glowworm is a poetic, beautiful animal for when it gives out its light, but it also has a dark side, you see. You see, the glowworm is also a voracious snail predator, and there are, in fact, snail shells left empty where they've devoured their meal, because what they do is they bite a snail, inject a toxin, and that turns it into a soup that is alive and it's a soup, and that has been sucked out by the glowworm while the snail is still living. So pretty gross, but pretty awesome in its own weird way. Now, for all the biological wonders of the glowworm, however, they are a species that very sadly has been in decline, like so much of our wildlife. They like lots of rough grassland in which to find the snails to eat. When they're adults, they also like soft, short grass to glow and display. And actually that kind of habitat in that wonderful mixture is very rare now in the UK. Light pollution is also a big factor. Light can distract the male glowworms and they can't find the females to mate with. And climate change seems to be having an impact too. So this does make the glowworm actually quite a good candidate for reintroduction, but no one's really tried it. So what I've done is actually trialled captive breeding this animal based on relatively little prior experience from some experts in the field. We have set on a good method, and what we now want to try and do is extrapolate this and look at other sites where we can reintroduce this animal, or where habitat has been newly created that's suitable, and introduce it to these sites as well. Because here, glowworm is actually quite a good candidate for translocation. It doesn't move very well. They move over quite short distances. They're not big flyers or anything like that. And they are also a species that really does enchant people. You can't deny that. It's an animal that glows in the dark. And I think if you want to have glowworms on your site, local to you, you need to ensure that habitat is going to be both really messy and also a bit of short grass as well. This lovely mix, not overmown, not overmanaged. It's the kind of animal that really is a gateway to the whole natural world. You've got to make a commitment to having it. So we want the glowworm reintroduction program to help reinfuse enthusiasm for nature right on your doorstep. And maybe the glowworm can be that little light in the dark to help restore our wildlife.
Great stuff.
Shut out, there was a bit sneaky glowworms came in there, which was great. Glowworms. Pete Cooper's really good guy as well, really good guy. A couple of things though, we have tried glowworm reintroduction and it didn't work very well. So Pete is going to have to do some pioneering research there to perfect
He's
that.
on the case though, you know. I had a chat with Pete recently for another project, and it's interesting.
He's a good guy. So that's good, certainly worth the investment. If they're captive breeding, they can try those reintroductions. And the key thing is, of course, that the females are wingless. They can't fly. So once they disappear from an area due to habitat loss or catastrophic event, a fire, disease, something like that, it's very difficult for them to recolonize, because as Pete says, they're really sedentary, they don't move much, and they can't fly. So unlike so many other insect species which have winged flying females, which then, you know, spread themselves over an environment to lay their eggs and increase the capacity for recolonization, the old glowworm can't do that. It's only the males that fly. But fascinating stuff. Good luck, Pete, with that project. Excellent stuff. Okay, coming to the end.
We are on to birthdays. So we would love to wish Wildlife Rufus, our friend, a very happy 11th
We met
birthday.
Rufus.
We did. We met Rufus. We did. We met him when we were on our fantastic young naturalist.
Yep.
And
it's very sunny. It was very talkative.
Yes, he was very chatty, but we
like that. We like that a lot.
And so happy birthday, Rufus. We also have Caitlin Godfrey, who's 27 tomorrow. Happy birthday to you, Caitlin. Happy birthday to Mel Ellis, whose birthday is on the 16th of April, from her husband, Justin, and their precious Las Vegas rescue cat, Baby Bear. Like that. They've created their own 1.5-acre nature garden in the Wye Valley over the last 15 years, and it's buzzing with life more than ever this year. That's
excellent
nice,
stuff. Yeah.
Very happy birthday to you, Mel. Hope you're celebrating your wonderful wildlife utopia. We've got Andy Hemingway's birthday on the 17th of April. He never misses an episode, and that's from Nats, Rubes, and McGinty. So that's nice, isn't it? I'm amazed by everyone who's never missed an episode. It's quite a feat, but thank you very much and happy birthday to you, Andy. On the 17th of April, we've got Graham Turner. They plan to go to the RSPB Strumpshaw Fens. Strumpshaw Fens.
Strumpshaw Fens, that's where they got swallowtails, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope you see some of those.
Yeah.
In Norfolk for the Dawn Chorus on Saturday. Dawn Chorus is picking up, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
we're doing something for Dawn Chorus Day, though.
Are we?
I've just told you, yes, we are. Speaking to the RSPB the other day, and they're doing a Dawn Chorus event.
Oh, yes.
And I said that we would join in.
Oh.
Really early in the morning.
Excellent.
Really early in the morning.
I love that.
They were talking about us doing something at 8 o'clock, and I said, no, way too late. Got to get up earlier than that. It'll be finished by then.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that'd be fun. That'd be great. I hope you can join us for that. And belated birthdays as well. We've got Daniel Evans, who was 45 on the 9th of April. We've got Matthew Ankner, who was 10 on the 8th of April. So very, very happy birthday to you guys. Also on the 8th of April, we've got Simone Whittle, and she would like to thank everyone on the SIBC for their lovely birthday wishes on Facebook. Last year, she celebrated on her own, meal for one, G&T and a candle. Oh, G&T is nice though, isn't it? This year she celebrated with 62,460 SIBC clubbers. That's lovely, isn't it? I love the community that SIBC is. It's really fantastic. So very happy birthday to you, Simone. Hope you've enjoyed and you've still got your gin and tonic, I hope.
Yeah.
It's always a staple for a birthday. She also says, in 2020, I got up religiously every morning to watch our broadcasts, including the Dawn Chorus get-together last year, which was magical, and I've watched every broadcast since the start of SIBC. I know so much more about the natural world now than I did a year ago, and it brings me so much joy knowing that there are others that care about it as much as I do. I'd like to say a massive thank you to everyone.
Excellent. That's very kind of her. Thank you very much indeed, Simone.
I think that's pretty much it, almost.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. What else we've got?
Wait a minute. Tomorrow, it's our very own Fabian Harrison's birthday. We can't forget Fabian. Happy birthday to our tech wizard. He doesn't know any of this. He didn't tell him we were going to. He left it out of the running order. Happy birthday, Fabian. We do have stuff on its way to you right now, so you'll hopefully get a package very soon.
Yeah, well, happy hours. And Fabian doesn't just do SIBC. No. I've got to tell you, he did all of the reintroduction summit yesterday. He does an enormous amount for RSPB and other people too. He's constantly at work using his technical wizardry to make lives better for people and wildlife. He's honestly...
He's honestly incredible. When we were doing our rewilding and reintroduction summit yesterday, he was up to 3 a.m. the night before sorting it out. Last night, he sent me an email at 1 a.m. sorting this out. So he really works tirelessly to bring SIBC together, and
it's got a proper work ethic.
It wouldn't be SIBC without him. We definitely owe him all of that. So happy birthday, Fabian.
Have a great birthday tomorrow.
I wish we could meet up and celebrate with you, but we'll have to save that for another time when we can, when restrictions allow.
Indeed, we haven't been. I haven't seen. Do you know what the weird thing is? You know, zooming in, zooming out.
Zooming in, zooming. Are you zoomed in?
Well, I'm zoomed in at the moment. I'm going to zoom out in a minute. Okay. I'm not zooming back in for some considerable time, I hope. But anyway, the fact is that do you realise that we actually haven't seen Fabian in reality since we were talking about other conservation plans like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
We miss you, Fabes. We've done no birding or any of that. We've just done a lot of talking on Zoom.
I mean, we speak all the time, but not in person, which is the same for lots of people. But
okay,
happy birthday, Fabian. Quiz reveal.
Quiz reveal. Okay, so who got it right?
A little look. Actually, we've got Nigel, Sandra, Karina, Michelle, Anita, Sue, Anise, Janet, and Elsma as well.
Let's have a look at it. Here it is. This is spotted out in the woods. It's still out there in the woods. It persists for some time, and this is the false puffball slime mold. The false puffball slime mold. And there are a number of different slime molds. They have some great names. One of them is called the dog sick slime mold.
You can see why.
Yeah, and it appears on grass and it's yellow. And then there's another one called the wolf's milk slime mold. And that's sort of pink and it's lots of little bobbles. And slime mold is fascinating stuff. It's not a plant. It's not an animal. It's not a fungi. It's out there on its own. and it spends most of its time feeding on fungi and bacteria. What, you and this table, honestly.
No, it's to say hello.
Right. It feeds on fungi and bacteria, which it finds in rotting wood. And sometimes it exists as single cells. Sometimes it comes together en masse like that, either to find food or to reproduce.
But slime moulds, I mean, they're quite fascinating organisms, aren't they? Because they are, a different type of intelligence. They are highly in terms of the efficiency of where they grow and how they move around.
That's right, yeah.
In Japan, they did this scientific research where they put slime moulds in, and basically the layer that it was kind of sat on kind of mimicked the topography and the buildings of Japan. And they had the slime mold basically moved around and grew in the same pattern as the Japanese subway, because that was the most efficient route to get from A to B, where the resources were for the slime mold. So very efficient anyway.
Yeah, it is. And they've done that. They've looked at that with other cities subsequently, haven't they? And they found that it manages to find the most efficient way of navigating to a food source, and it senses the food source sort of chemically in the air. So it's remarkable stuff. So it's about as alien as you can possibly get.
It's really cool.
And it's out there in the woods now. So keep your eyes peeled. There are a range of different ones. Many of them only have scientific names, but the one that I see that one commonly, the false puffball slime mold, appears on standing oak trees, dead oak trees. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Do you know what? I'll do one more thing before we go. I've been using this little gadget. So I've got this little gadget. This is basically, it's a digital monocular. But also a camera and a video, and it weighs about the same as my phone. The neat thing is that it's got a zoom on it of 200, 400 or 800.
That's pretty good.
So yeah, you know, when you're taking pictures with your camera, that's fine for slime molds because they don't fly away, and you can get pretty close. And you can get pretty close to them. But for anything that is difficult to get close to, either because it's a long way away and you can't get any closer to it, or because it's quite flighty, things like a bee fly that I was photographing the other day with this, then this has proved to be a really fad little gadget. It takes really good photographs, image stabilized. There's no screen in it, so you download an app and it goes directly to your phone, and then you can share the pictures from your phone anywhere else. And I've got a few of these. I was given a few of these, and I can only use one myself. So I'm going to be giving them away this week. I'm going to run a little competition on my social media to give the other ones away. I think that's a fair thing to do. I shouldn't hog them, should I? What I'm going to do with all of them. So, nice. And they are. Do you know what? I thought to myself, this would be quite limited in what it can achieve, but because of that 200 and 400 zoom, and transferring directly to your camera, it's great for bird ID and things like that. You know, when you get those pictures of tiny little birds, and people say, "What is it?" and you say, "Oh, I don't know, it's just 2 pixels." You need one of these. You need these Canon Power Shot Zoom. It's called a Canon Power Shot Zoom.
We have to look out for that competition.
I'm going to run it this week. I'll get some of the pictures that I've taken on it and put them up online as well. I've been doing the buzzard on the feeding platform and various other insects out and about. You're holding that dog's anus quite close to your face, and we don't know which one of the two was guilty of that biological warfare experiment that we had to endure earlier in the broadcast. So all I can say is you're dicing with dog farts there.
Dangerous.
Dangerous indeed. Dangerous. Anyway, okay. So there we are. We'll see you next week. Remember, Fabian's birthday tomorrow. So if you're on SIBC,
make sure to wish him happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to Fabian and all of those other people that we mentioned.
Okay.
Wildlife Rufus, 11 today.
Yes.
11.
Wildlife Rufus.
Wildlife Rufus. Have a great day. Okay.
We'll see you soon. Bye everyone. We're zooming out.
Bye. We're zooming right out.